Against the set in beautiful Joliet, we get ready for the season finale, race number 15 of the 2020 Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series here at the mile-and-a-half Chicagoland Speedway. Seth Cole alongside of Sam Dyer as we get ready for this finale. Sam, we already know the championship has been decided. Mathematically impossible for Nicholas Johnston to lose the championship here today. So with that being said, no championship really on the line. Everyone wants to end the season off with a W. Do we see maybe a more aggressive type race here today from green to checkered flag?
I mean, aggressiveness, I expected to kick up here on the latter half of the race. But, the first part, these guys probably going to take a little while to get their cars used to this track. Chicagoland's one of those tracks where you're going to see quite a bit of pocket and pack racing going on with these cars. And you might see some fuel strategy later on in this race.
Johnston's going to actually start this race from the outside of the front row. The driver that gets the pole here tonight, the guy who won the last mile-and-a-half track we were at back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and that is two-time winner Jason Brophy. So trying to see if he can pick up his third win of the season. But the last couple of weeks, it's kind of been drivers that we've seen up there towards the front but haven't been able to capitalize on wins, finally getting the redemption and finally finding victory lane. Milwaukee Mile 2 weeks ago, it was Will Roberts. Last week at Watkins Glen, it was Riley Thompson. So are there a couple of guys here you're looking at that we've seen be consistently up there at the front that we may see them be able to get the final win of the season?
I'm going to think that maybe Kit Bobbersbach's going to be the one. I mean, that number one machine has been consistently up front, but he's qualified back in 13th, so he's going to have to really travel his way through the pack to make a move here. But the car that I've got circled on for winning this track has got to be Jason Brophy. He's been looking consistent here in the last couple of races, and I think that 88 machine might be hunting for another victory today.
We always see at the end of a season also our new names kind of pop in, test the waters, whether they'd like to maybe return in the new season. Two drivers here tonight going to be making their first starts of the year. We'll highlight them during the course of this race. There's another couple of drivers in the field that are making their second and third starts of the season. So some new blood coming in here, and maybe some drivers we'll see running full-time in the 2020B Fuel IndyCar Series schedule, which has been confirmed. The new season will be starting up on July 23rd, but these drivers, they got 150 laps here tonight at Chicagoland to take care of first.
150 laps to figure out where you're going to finish and what type of momentum you will be able to carry on to the next season. Nicholas Johnston already feeling very confident, and he's been our ace at road courses, and he won at Indy. We'll see if he's able to win here at another oval.
First, he would love to be able to get what would be his sixth win of the season. You mentioned his wins at road courses, Road Atlanta, Mid-Ohio, Road America, where he went 3 for 3 in a row there. He also swept Indianapolis, winning the road course and oval configurations, and we'll see if he can put an exclamation point here into this season with a win in the season finale. As the green flag is in the air, and we're racing at Chicagoland.
Jason Brophy getting a huge gap, almost a 3-4 car length gap between himself and the car behind him. But, man, these guys are already taking off side-by-side action for second and third as Pastorius, I take that back, is going to be in second, getting by Nicholas Johnston.
Andy Roberts going to move up to third. Johnston finally finds his way to the inside in fourth. Best battle right now, it was side-by-side, now nose to tail for fifth between Cohen Evans, Mitch Welker. Battle for the lead, Hayden Pastorius to the inside of Jason Brophy for the top spot.
Yeah, that 19 car of Hayden able to pass and lead the first lap of the race. It wasn't Brophy who got that massive launch. I think that's something for us to hold on to later on. If we somehow have a couple of laps left in a final restart, you might not want to start in first and get that huge gap. I mean, you're seeing the power of the draft on the backstretch.
150 laps here, and talking about the fact that these drivers, they're going to be aggressive here early on, trying to pick up track position. This is going to be a very draft reliant type race. Look back at the last 2.5 mile tracks we were at, though. Only 3 cautions came out at Homestead, 2 cautions at Las Vegas. So we could see this thing go into a long green flag run for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of those wrecks were either self-spins or someone getting some net code. We usually see a lot of clean racing here at these mile-and-a-half racetracks. We'll continue to see like these cars are being so close to one another, this pack racing, and they are continuing to gonna race like this. It's going to take a while before you start to see someone kind of pull away from everyone else. You're going to see a lot of this type of racing all day long.
Just like a super speedway, the top 12 cars separated by a little more than a second as they're almost 3 wide for the second position. Danny Roberts, Hayden Pastorius, and that's Zach Buchanan up there on the outside line. Been a while since we've seen him make a start here in the series. Nice to see him back. A couple of other drivers also coming back here in the closing stages of this season, including the 76 of former winner Mitch Welker, who took a checkered flag back at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, Mitch Welker's been coming in here and there. Also, the 77 machine of Ryan Heater, he's been popping in here and there throughout the whole entire season. He's back in 9th place.
Mentioned that 2 drivers are making their first starts of the season. Top of the board in practice was one of them, Mitchell Riggs, in the 36 machine, right now running in 11th. Obviously, some series run and have their points calculated on danlisa.com. Some of them don't, but according to the Dan Lisa stats, pretty good winning percentage for Mitchell Riggs. 185 starts, 25 trips to victory lane, and we know he was fast in practice, so we'll see how he does here in his first start here in the IndyCar series.
Right now, running 10th is Mitchell Riggs. So he'll have to try to make a push up here, but up front, I mean, it's Zach Buchanan who's running in 4th, thinking about making it 3 wide every once in a while. And it's looking like the 19 machine on the outside, still trying to make the pass for our lead, but Jason Brophy still holding strong on the inside. And usually we see that at these mile-and-a-half racetracks. The car that's up front tries to hold the bottom line, stay on the white line as much as possible. Don't even give them the other cars an opportunity to get below you. Make them use up their tires on the outside.
Jason Brophy continuing to lead from the pole. Oh, caution!
Caution out, and it looks like it's going to be Philip Clark as well as Richard Nash getting involved with one another.
Out of turn 4, it looks like, as Nash's car down to the inside of the track. There's Philip Clark, and it looks like he had some damage to the right front wing of his number 11. So a 2-car incident. I was going to bring up Philip Clark. Clark making his first start of the season. He has a total of 349 starts, only 1 win. It came in this mod, the Dallara DW12 mod. And you want to take a guess, Sam, what track that win came at?
Chicagoland, I'm guessing.
It was Chicagoland. So I was kind of interested to watch his strategy here today, but obviously not pan out early the way he was hoping. We'll go back and see what happened over in turn 4.
Yeah, it looked like it was Richard Nash getting completely out of shape going into 3, and then just gets sideways in the middle of 3, and Clark had nowhere to go but to run into the T97 machine. So a rough day for both those guys.
Richard Nash making his 3rd start of the season, and there you see the contact. Pretty hard hit for both of these drivers. These cars carrying about over 185 miles per hour into these turns. And so any hit they take in the outside wall is going to be pretty extensive in terms of the damage that they will sustain. We'll see if either Clark or Nash will be able to continue. If they do, will they be up to speed? We're going to have to wait and find out. Up to this point, Nash's best finish of the season, 23rd, and that was at the Iowa short track.
Yeah, I'm expecting both those guys to be in the pits for quite a long time. I think Clark probably has the best opportunity to get back out there, but they both had heavy damage. Everyone, though, during that time came into the pits, get some fuel, tires, feeling good about this pit stop. With them actually pitting here, it is allowing these guys to make this into a 2-stop race from here on out. It was looking like it was going to be a slim 2-stop race where you had to save a lot of fuel, but from here on out is the definite 2 more stops for these cars, and they will be good to the go at the end of this race if we go green.
Yeah, fuel window is about 40 to 50 laps. Of course, the draft kind of helps you to save fuel as well. Now, Brophy's out in front, came into this race 2nd in the point standings behind Nicholas Johnston. He was 44 points back. Now, mathematically, that is possible to make up based off the point system. The most points you can gain if you lead the most laps and you lead a lap, you can get 47 points. The problem is, in order to be able to take the points lead and the championship away from Nicholas Johnston, we would have had to have had about 41 cars in the field, and Johnston would have had to finish dead last. With only 20 drivers taking the green, there's no mathematical way that Johnston can lose the championship to Jason Brophy, but it kind of makes you almost wonder what if, because there were quite a number of starts that Jason Brophy missed. If he'd run all of them, we might have had ourselves a two-dog fight for the championship here tonight, Chicagoland.
Yeah, Brophy was honestly one of those cars that if he did make every single race, I think this championship would have been a lot closer coming into this event. And I think Nicholas Johnson probably would have been sweating bullets just because we know Jason Brophy is so good at these mile and a halves and short track races. The ovals just seem to fall right in place for the 88 machine.
As we wait for the lights to go out atop the pace car, just to update the two cars involved in the wreck that brought out the first yellow, both are still on pit road getting damage repaired. Philip Clark right now scored 1 lap down. Richard Nash scored 2 laps down. So right now it looks like 18 cars will still be in the hunt for this victory. We're talking about earlier drivers that have had pretty good seasons, but have not been able to find victory lane. And another driver I think that would kind of fit into that category would be Danny Roberts. We've seen him several times, especially at these speedways, kind of play some fuel strategy, and always seems like he's in the vicinity of a victory in the closing stages, has something happen to him, and ends up being taken out of contention. So kind of look at someone like him as well to maybe try and finish out the season with a checkered flag.
Yeah, Danny Roberts it seems like every single race we see him up here in the top 5. It doesn't matter if it's road courses or ovals. That 41 machine has just been having the pace, just not the luck this year. I mean, this season it needs a little bit more luck possibly for the 2020 B season. But, I mean, you still got this race to try to switch your luck up and try to change things for the rest of the year.
Andrew Wood trying to have a bookend season. Right now, he's going to be restarting in the 14th position. Of course, winning the season opener at Twin Ring Motegi, which has been designated the first place these drivers will go in the new season coming up in July. Andrew Wood, obviously very good at the speedways where he took a checkered flag, as we are back green, lap 13 of 150.
You know, usually we see these guys staying up close against the wall. That time, Brophy decided to hug that white line, not let anyone get below him. Once again, just using that as a defensive method to keep that position. But you see the strength of the draft, and on the outside, you got Hayden, and then you also got Buchanan on the outside.
Almost like that caution never came out. We're back to where we were with them trying 3 wide for the race lead again between Pastorius, Brophy, and Buchanan. And Buchanan almost was able to keep even with those guys going into the corner, but it seems like, especially on entry, that's where he loses his ground.
With this pit stop, it's going to allow ourselves to see Nicholas Johnson and Mitch Welker both putting their nose in this lead pack of cars. That's 6 machines right on top of one another. And then you get the 1 and the 17 just lingering behind, waiting to see if they make any mistakes.
Behind Nicholas Johnson, you've got Mitch Welker in the 76. Now, most of the season, Mitch Welker, when he wasn't in the car, he was up on the pit box for Nicholas Johnston. So those two now, with no championship at stake, those two can mix it up here on the track for the 5th position at Chicagoland.
Yeah, Mitch Welker last week had a great performance with himself. And just trying to continue it, showing that he is someone that if he can race all season long, he is also someone we could watch out for in the 2020 B season to possibly be a championship contender if he can run every single race. That's the key with these guys, right? I mean, we've been talking about Nicholas Johnson being Mr. Consistent all season long, but he's ran every single race, and some of these guys have shown good showings. They just need to run every race, and they'll probably be up there battling it out with that 28 machine.
I don't know if something happened or if he just let everybody by, but Cohen Evans was up there around the 7th position. All of a sudden, he drifted back to 12th place, lost a lot of speed going through 3 and 4. He's now drifted outside of the top 10. I don't see any visible damage, so my assumption is either he lifted to let some drivers by or he may have overstepped the cushion, because most of these drivers, they're going to migrate to the 2 grooves there down towards the inside line. Sometimes there's not a lot of grip up there in that 3rd lane.
Yeah, he went up into the high line, got up there in dirty rubber, and he lost a ton of momentum. Got stuck behind some cars that weren't moving as fast as he was, and just got passed by everyone else. And yeah, that 17 dropped. He lost just a couple positions, lost about 3 due to that. But yeah, that Cohen Evans lost some positions, but a car that's making some moves up, that's going to be Riley Thompson, who's up here making some moves.
Thompson's been able to work his way now into the 7th position. Now making a move on Mitch Welker for 6th is up at the front. Now Nicholas Johnston is the one trying to make that extreme outside line work, trying to swing to the outside of Hayden Pastorius. He'll actually get to the right rear quarter panel. We'll see if he can side draft him going into one. That's another guy. I mean, he's got no pressure coming to this race. He knows he's going to hoist a championship trophy at the end of this race. So why not go out there, try and pick up your second Speedway victory?
Try to make as many moves as possible. These guys are just sliding and dashing, making all the quick moves that they can. But Nicholas Johnson on the high side gets real close to that wall, trying to get the run off of 4, but still right on the corner panel, and now side by side with Jason Brophy.
Really being able to utilize the side draft there is Nicholas Johnston. We saw him use it to make the pass on Pastorius for second. Now alongside of Jason Brophy for the race lead. A little bit further back there, another driver that's working his way up through the field is Cass Silman. He just took the 5th position away from Zach Buchanan. Silman coming into this race has been running the last 2 races of the season so far back at Milwaukee and Watkins Glen. He's not exactly had the best of luck, but he certainly has looked like he can be competitive with a little bit more experience, and now he's not afraid to mix it up with these guys. He may have gone, he was thinking about going up the middle there, 3 wide for the 3rd position, had to back off as I think that was Riley Thompson having to lift a little bit.
Yeah, the last time we saw Silman at an oval, he was running up front in the top 5 and then got caught up in some late issues that took him out. But, you know, Silman is always someone who has speed and someone to watch out for at these ovals. But
car on the wall.
Our top 3 are looking good. That car on the wall.
Yeah, that was Zach Buchanan. Caution's out. I don't know if that was for him or not. But
No.
He went way up the track in 1 and 2, was riding the wall to the back straightaway.
The actual caution was for Evan Adams, who was wall riding. His car was completely stuck on the wall for a second down the backstretch. Somehow got it straight and onto the course, but the caution was for the 59. But yeah, that 40 machine was running the high line, and that wall snuck up on him.
And now Evan Adams looks like he's having to teleport to pit road. We saw him try to refire the car out of the grass, and the car would not turn for him. Second caution of the day coming out here tonight as we are just about a 5th of the way through this race.
Update from our first caution. Richard Nash is going to be disconnecting and putting his car behind the wall, and that 97 is done for the day. But yeah, Zach Buchanan's getting at the wall was kind of a fluky incident, as well as Evan Adams. That was very weird seeing both those cars in the wall in the fashion that they went in.
See right there, wow. Evan Adams hit the wall a lot harder than Zach Buchanan did. Car up onto its side, and almost Martin Truex seen it there up on the outside wall. And then eventually down to the inside wall. That caution may have been a big break there for Zach Buchanan as well. We talk about the way that the wheels, the suspension, everything's rather exposed with the open wheel bodies. You have to wonder, even the kind of contact there to the side of the race car into the outside wall, how that's going to affect the 40 of Buchanan. And I think we just got our answer. It looks like Buchanan has actually taken and made the hard left-hand turn to the garage area.
Yeah, I mean, if you wreck the suspension on these cars, it takes so long to get that damage repaired. Some of these guys are just going to hang out and watch the race, but most of the time, if you get this heavy damage, you're stuck where you're at. Another car that had some damage, but it looked like it wasn't that much, Bommersbach was running around 8th, came into the pits, had a little bit more damage to repair, and now is back in 16th position.
Bommersbach 6th in the points coming into this race, and I believe will be at least finishing out the season 5th in points, potentially, as Liam Quinn, who was 5th in the points coming into this, 1 point ahead of Bommersbach, is not in the field. Actually, the battle for that 5th position in the standings will actually be a good one here tonight. 3-point separation. I'm sorry, no, 2-point separation between Bommersbach and Rodrigo Munoz, who are 6th and 7th. So those two will be duking it out to see who's going to finish this season top 5 in the overall point standings.
Munoz has been one of those kind of sleeper picks for running in the top 10 to top 5 at the end of these races. He might be running in the middle of the pack most of the race, but with everyone having an accident here or there, he's that guy that will just linger around and sneak his way into a top 5 finish. So it's good to see that he is running well in points, and that just shows the consistency that these guys need to run all season long. If you could just sneak yourself in the top 10, top 5 every single race, you'll be up there in points. So
as we wait for the lights to go out top the pace car, it will be Jason Brophy who will be the race leader over Nicholas Johnston. Hayden Pastorius, Mitch Welker, and Cass Silman, the top 5. Then Riley Thompson, Mitchell Riggs, Danny Roberts, Cohen Evans, and Andrew Wood. That's going to be your top 10. We talked about the fact of that these drivers, we thought they would be a little bit more aggressive and everything. I don't think we necessarily expected that the cautions, though, were going to be coming out for the track conditions. It seems like the grip levels in the 3 lanes here, well, actually 4 lanes at Chicagoland, have been playing havoc with these drivers.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're feeling the speed they have, and it's kind of like what we were talking about at Indy with these guys. Once they get the speed, they kind of have to use that momentum or they're wasting it by not just making a move. And sometimes they feel like the only way to make a move is throwing it 3 wide, and there's just not enough grip out there in the 3rd lane for them to make these bold moves that they're making. But that's just what we're seeing is these guys trying to make these bold moves, trying to make the 3rd lane work. And it's a little too early to be making these bold moves like that. You got to wait until about the halfway marker or even later than that. And that 3rd lane might be there. But you can see the dark line is on the inside. That's where you want to be. And that's why we're seeing Jason Brophy running that low line as much as he is.
You can see as far as the outside temperature, the track temperature, not much difference, 2 degrees. And that's 78 degrees. That means grip for these drivers, which kind of begs the question. I'm a little surprised we saw everyone come to pit road under this yellow. I would have thought that with it being cooler track conditions and everything, Chicagoland's not necessarily known as one of those tracks that's very abrasive on tires. And we know that even at this point, they're going to have to be on pit road at least 2 more times. So what was the strategy and what was the purpose of these drivers coming down pit road here under the 2nd caution?
Well, I mean, you'd think that it wouldn't be too abrasive just because of how cool the temperatures are, but with the aggressive moves that everyone's kind of making and trying to get up front, it is being a quite aggressive on the tires as well. As from the time that they had that caution to how well they've been running their laps, there's almost been a second drop off with the lap times in just a short period of time that these drivers have been running, almost 10 lap old tires and already close to a second drop off. So coming to the pits was the best option for these drivers.
122 laps will remain when we go back green with Jason Brophy out in front. We saw on the last restart him right down there against the white line, down towards the apron on the front straightaway. We'll see if he utilizes that same strategy again. And I almost wonder if a big reason for that is you talked about all the grip is down there on the bottom line. He wants to make sure, based on the draft, we see 2nd, 3rd, 4th get on the back straightaway. If they're going to make a move on him, he wants them to go up to that 2nd and 3rd groove.
Yeah, forcing them to go on the high line. It's forcing them to use their tires a lot more. They have to make some very aggressive moves, and it's really abrasive on those tires. And you're just seeing the difference between Jason Brophy holding steady, trying to be as smooth as possible on the inside, and everyone else kind of just dashing everywhere they can with those machines. They got to be careful. And those spotters up top, they are working with how many quick dashing moves these drivers are making.
16 drivers will still be in the hunt for this victory. Kite Bommersbach, the last of those, as the green flag is back in the air here at Chicagoland.
Jason Brophy once again having a decent start, but with these single file starts, he's not really getting the best restart. But car that really didn't get going was Nicholas Johnston. It's going to be Pastorius on the outside for 2nd. And that 19 machine, if he can get right onto the draft, will come blowing by Jason Brophy on the front stretch. And another car that's coming on the outside, that's Mitch Welker, who's making some moves, as well as Cass Silman.
Boy, Nicholas Johnston moving up there to the outside of Hayden Pastorius and almost cut off Mitch Welker. There's Cass Silman as well, looking the 3rd lane as now Johnston tries the outside line, tries to get the right rear quarter panel down the back straightaway. Not quite there. Now I think he's there. They will be side by side going into 3.
Someone who's been lingering around 10th since the drop of the green, but now up here in the top 6, that's going to be Mitchell Riggs. We talked about how this is a track that he could be possibly someone to watch out for. Fastest car during practice. Didn't get the qualifying time he wanted, but right now in the top 6 and trying to make even bigger moves for that 36 machine.
I was looking through his statistics on Dan Lisa before we came on the air. A lot of his victories came at your short tracks, your dirt tracks as well. Not a whole lot of speedway victories. So it was kind of interesting to see him top of the board in practice and seeing him now be competitive, trying to crack the top 5 as he'll look to the outside of Hayden Pastorius. Meanwhile, up front, Brophy continuing to hug the bottom. Nicholas Johnston trying to find something in that second groove, and Mitch Welker trying even higher. He's actually going to have a little bit of a push here with Cass Silman down the back straightaway.
Yeah, these guys are running so much higher than everyone else. That entry was a lot later as well, so they'll get their apex a little bit later on in the corner, but trying that super high line up in the third groove is going to be Cass Silman, but it thinks otherwise once you find space below him.
Going to be side by side, 2 rows deep, almost 3 rows deep back there, as Hayden Pastorius might look the inside of Cass Silman for 5th, and he will. Now top 3 get themselves single file, not for long. Johnston going to peek out of line again, try to swing around the outside of Jason Brophy, who is doggedly holding that white line on the front straightaway.
Yeah, I think Brophy right now, yes, there is chaos all around him, but he's kind of he just needs to run his line, run that inside line, make everyone else move around. He just has to stay steady, and he'll be all right. Those tires aren't going to be used up as much, and he can worry about his own race while everyone else is around him making these bold moves.
Interesting, if you look at the other 2.5-mile tracks we were at, Homestead Miami Speedway, Brophy brought it home 3rd place there, based on the fact Liam Quinn was able to pull fuel strategy and take the checkered flag. Brophy led 106 laps there. However, when he took the checkered flag back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the other 1.5-mile track, he only led 16 laps in that event. He has definitely bested that tonight, as he's led all 35 that we have completed now here at Chicagoland.
He's led actually 34. Yeah, 35 laps he has led. But I believe Pastorius has led at least one of those laps. He beat Brophy on the first lap of this race. So Pastorius has at least one bonus point in that fashion, but Nicholas Johnston trying to make the move on the outside, but these guys just aren't getting the runoff that Brophy is on that inside lane.
Which kind of surprises me too, because you would normally think at a speedway that you would carry more speed in that second groove and get better straightaway speed using the outside line, but Brophy's been able to do a good job, as you mentioned, of getting good corner exit speed and transferring that to straightaway speed to hold Nicholas Johnston and Mitch Welker at bay.
Well, you got to think, when you're making these quick moves up and down, trying to make any move at all, there's a little bit of drag in that. With your turning your tires, you're not keeping it straight, and with Brophy just keeping straight, keeping the way he's going, he's not making any more drag than he has to have, which is keeping that 88, keeping his momentum on the straightaways, and keeping everyone else behind him.
As for Nicholas Johnston, he's got nothing really to lose here today. Came in with that 44-point lead for the championship, so I think he's going to continually try that outside line, but I almost wonder, if we get down in the closing stage of this race, since Jason Brophy's kind of played his hand that he is just going to keep his car on the bottom, would somebody try a crossover move and try and get to his inside, maybe do like a slingshot move out of turn 2, coming down maybe to the last lap?
It's going to be hard to tell. At the moment, I mean, he's leading these laps, so he's keeping that as a note for himself that, hey, as long as I'm keeping where I'm at, there's nothing really to worry about. Everyone else has to use the draft on the backstretch, stay in line, and possibly use the draft to their advantage. If anyone's following that 88 machine, it's giving him a little bit of a boost. Everyone else trying to use the draft to beat out the 88, but it's just not working at the moment. They keep on getting to the same spot every time, and they're not finding any more speed than where they are at right now. Jason Brophy just looks like the more dominant car.
Nicholas Johnston and Mitch Welker, they've been kind of trying to draft together down the back straightaway to get a run in turns 3 and 4, make that outside line move, but it just has not worked. Now, I'm hoping I'm not jinxing it, but this is the longest green flag run we've gone into here today, so we know that probably at some point...
there's the jinx.
I jinxed it.
Hayden Pastorius is flipped completely over. I'm looking to see if he got any help with this. It looks like there was some net code with himself and Andrew Wood that launched him into the outside wall, and around that 18, the 19 went tumbling down the turn number 1. A rough day for a car that looked like he had a chance to win this thing.
Oh, the commentator's curse strikes again as we'll look and see what happened to Pastorius. And to your point, he was up in the top 5 pretty much for the entirety of this race. That's a tough break there for him. seventh start of the season, and boy, you could clearly see there was just no contact. There was clearly space, and unfortunately, the hitbox, the net code takes place, and tough break there for Hayden Pastorius. We've worked our third caution now, and the field is slowly dwindling down. I mean, with Pastorius now, with the damage he probably has sustained, we're going to be down to only 15 drivers that are going to be eligible to battle it out for this checkered flag. And we're not even a third of the way through. You kind of get the feeling that we may end up seeing quite a number of more cautions before this thing's over.
Yeah, whoa, someone in the back just had issues getting on the pit road. I'm looking to see who it is. It's Will Roberts that didn't even cross the line. I don't know if he got spun out, if he got on the brakes. That 39 machine spun out entering the pits here under caution.
Back and see what happened here to our Milwaukee winner. I didn't see anybody make contact with him. Looks like he may have just locked him up. Ow. That's interesting.
I mean, it possibly could have been netcode with one machine, but that was one of the weirder spins to see under caution. But everyone's still able to keep running. The 39 did not hit the wall, luckily, so everyone's still good.
That's the fortunate thing, was he didn't make contact with the wall on the inside of the pit road area, so he should be okay. I think he was running somewhere around the 10th, 11th position, so he's going to lose about 3-4 spots on pit road because of that. But the good news, though, as you mentioned, no damage. He's still in the running for this thing, so he should still be up to speed.
Still up to speed. He'll have to work his way back up into that 10th, 11th spot. You know, before that caution, I was going to bring up the fact that we kind of had two different packs. We had the pack from a 10th on back, and then also a pack from 9th forward. They split up into two different packs, and it was interesting to look because it looked like the guys in the second pack, they were just on cruise control, not really trying to make any too aggressive moves on one another, and then the guys up front trying everything to get by the 88 machine.
All right, so I'm going to say it now, we're under caution. So that way, if we end up having another yellow come out, it won't be just after I've mentioned this. We're going to be going back green probably somewhere around lap 47, 48, which would put us 1 or 2 laps over the projected amount drivers would be able to make it on fuel. We got the number about 40 to 50 laps. So if we calculate, let's say, 2 50-lap runs, there'd be about 52 laps left. Do you think it might be possible to save that extra lap on each run and maybe make this a one-stop race at this point in time?
If you're someone in around 5th or further back and you decide just to follow someone and you're also trying to clutch, you're trying to do every possible thing to save fuel, you could try, but it's very difficult to save fuel if you're up front. Jason Brophy will probably have to turn this into a 2-stopper from here on out, and it's going to probably be 1 full stop, 1 splash and go. It's going to be difficult for the 88 machine, but everyone else behind them, they can utilize the draft to save fuel and possibly turn this into a 1-stopper from here on out, but it is going to be a very difficult run for these guys. I think if anyone's going to do that, they kind of need to come into the pits now, right before we go green, to get the maximum amount of fuel before we go green again.
Mention that someone was on pit road right now getting service. That's the 77 of Ryan Heaters. So maybe doing the exact strategy that you're talking about. It's kind of a question of who's going to Liam Quinn it here today. Of course, Liam Quinn seems to be our master of fuel strategy when we would come to these speedway races. But Brophy's going to restart the race leader with Nicholas Johnston, Mitch Walker, Cass Silman, and Mitchell Riggs. Now your top 5. Then it's Riley Thompson, Danny Roberts, Cohen Evans, Andrew Wood, and Kite Bommersbach. That's going to be your top 10. We've been highlighting some drivers that have had really consistent and good seasons here, and I think we should highlight Cohen Evans for sure. Comes into this race 8th in the point standings, 2 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and 14 starts this season. He's been another guy that we've consistently seen up inside the top 10 each and every week.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone that, once again, road course or ovals, top 10 finishes seem to be his thing. Riley Thompson just ducked it in. Oh boy, that's the strategy call that I was talking about. You got to wait until the very last moment, duck it in, and see if you can save this fuel. And Riley Thompson looks like he was the only one to come in this time by. And that is a bold move from that 56 machine. The only thing you got to worry about is you're drifting back to the slower cars behind you that haven't been up front. And you got to be careful of the interactions that you'll have with cars that you may not be used to driving around out in the back.
You're going to be back in traffic. Obviously, with the high speeds these drivers are carrying, there's the likelihood a car could drift up into your lane spinning. You have no reaction time. You could get caught up in a wreck. I mean, that's kind of, in a way, almost what happened to Hayden Pastorius. I know it was a netcode issue, but he had drifted back mid-pack where he was side by side with a lot of race cars at that point. So that kind of led to the risk that he ran there with that netcode issue. So we'll see if Riley Thompson, if he's going to try and march his way up here to the front again. He'll be restarting back in 15th, or will he be content for the moment maybe to just ride at the tail end of the field? Because right now, he and Ryan Heater would be the two that potentially could make this race on one more stop.
As we're getting ready to go green, pace car pulls off. Jason Brophy with probably one of his best starts. And oh no, an accident car spinning around. That's Andrew Wood, as well as Danny Roberts got up into it. I take that back. That was actually Mitchell Riggs that got spun around.
Roberts was involved, however, in the 41. And possibly... well, maybe not. I think he slowed up in time. But Riley Thompson talked about being there at the back. He had to snake his way through there. And boy, not the kind of thing you want to see, but it's sometimes very typical of a speedway where everyone tries to anticipate when the leader's going to go. A stack up on the restart for our fourth caution of the night.
Yeah, I mean, you got Danny Roberts as well as Mitchell Riggs involved. Cohen Evans, a victim of running into those cars as well. He's got a little bit of front wing damage that'll have to get repaired. So was not just a two-car incident. A lot of machines are being taken out before we even get to the halfway marker here.
See how this even happens, and it looks like it might have started with Mitch Welker maybe checking everybody up. Then Cass Silman had to get on the brakes. I think that the stack up may have started with the 76.
Well, I mean, Jason Brophy was about to take off, and Nicholas Johnson just didn't get going, and everyone else just felt stacked up at the start here. And yeah, I mean, everyone was expecting Brophy to take off immediately, and he didn't, and the guys in the back didn't notice it, and by the time that they did, they were already on top of one another.
Yeah, I said it was actually Mitch Welker. Almost looked like it may have started with the second place car of Nicholas Johnston for that whole stack up. And unfortunately, some drivers sustaining damage because of this one. And, you know, it's bad enough that we see drivers get involved in race incidents. You don't want to see drivers sustaining damage in a simple restart stack up. And unfortunately, that is the case. We'll have to see if they can repair the 41 of Roberts, who had a left front wing missing. And looked like a little bit more extensive damage on the 36 of Mitchell Riggs, making his first start of the season here tonight.
Danny Roberts got the wing repaired. He's going to be moving back onto the course. But yeah, Mitchell Riggs looks like might have been too much damage on that 36 machine. Still in the pits, a couple of laps down. But something I want to bring up is from 10th on back, they have all come into the pits. Everyone ahead of them did not, and they are still needing to pit at least one more time, possibly two more times. So something to watch out with these drivers up front.
I mean, when we looked at it with the last caution, we had them about maybe 2 laps short of being able to make it on one more stop. How much can you save here under these caution laps? Are you able to save that 2 laps necessary?
I mean, we were looking at it, the fuel window, and you really have to try to save 2 laps, possibly just 1 lap on this stint and then another lap on your second stint, and you're going to be running pretty slow compared to the drivers that just came into the pits now, and they're good to come race as hard as they want. As long as they're in the draft, they're okay, and then they'll have to pit one more time, and there's just going to be a difference between the cars that really have to try to save compared to the drivers that are good to go to the end. That's if we go green from here on out. Well, I'm imagining that was a fluky accident that we just had, and with how many cars are dwindling down from here on out, I'm hoping that we don't see too many more cautions from here going forward.
Absolutely, as Mike Hurley is going to restart the highest of the drivers that pitted there under this caution. He'll be in ninth. Just ahead of him, Ryan Heater will be in eighth. He, of course, was on pit road under the last caution just before that stack up on the restart. So that call to bring him to pit road under the last caution, gaining some nice track position. He'll be restarting behind Jason Brophy, Nicholas Johnston, Mitch Welker, Cass Silman, Cohen Evans, Kite Bommersbach, and Ryan Heater in seventh now, as the 32 of Andrew Wood gives up a top 10 running position. He's coming to pit road now in the 32.
I feel like that's a very smart decision by Andrew Wood. Come in. I mean, it's better to race as hard as you can and not lose time trying to save your tires or fuel, and know that you can race as hard as you want and you'll be good on fuel until your next pit stop. So I feel like that is a good decision on Andrew Wood's part if this thing continues to stay green.
We mentioned the fact that there were 3 cautions at Homestead. There were 2 cautions at Las Vegas. However, the mile-and-a-half tracks have proved to be races of attrition. At this point in time, we've got about 5 drivers, maybe now 6 if we add in Mitchell Riggs, that have sustained damage that probably will take them out of the running of this. If we look back at Las Vegas, we end up having 22 cars take the green, only 13 finished on the lead lap. And back at Homestead, 20 cars took the green, and really it only came down between 10 drivers crossing the line for the checkered flag. So these mile-and-a-half tracks, even though they may not have had a lot of cautions fly, they have proved to be a little bit of a race of attrition, a race of survival for these guys.
Yeah, so far Chicagoland has been our most cautions, it seems like, at these mile-and-a-half courses, and we're only down to 14 cars running out there at the moment. And it's been a rough day for a lot of these guys out here as Riley Thompson comes in the pits again, as well as Danny Roberts.
All these drivers just adding in a little bit more fuel, be able to make it a little bit further. We know for certain that everybody's going to have to pit at least one more time. If you're Riley Thompson right now, are you thinking that if I take on the fuel now, it'll be less fuel that I'll have to take on if we end up making that one pit stop we have to make under green flag conditions, and it will save me time?
Yeah, it's the further that you can push your car, and you'll have better tires at the end of the race. And just try to feel a lot more comfortable from here on out. You don't really have to be completely conserving as much as you could. You can make a really hard push to the lead and be one of those drivers that can keep the lead, stay up front, and you don't have to worry about all the cars around you that might have to slow down and woe up trying to just make it to make this a one-stopper.
To go back green here, as we're now a third of the way through this race. It'll be lap 54 when the green flag will come back out, with Jason Brophy out in front, Nicholas Johnston in second, and Mitch Welker completing the podium. These have really been the guys we've had up here at the front most of this race. The question is, though, will they be the ones we'll have up here at the conclusion, as Brophy gets another good jump here? And I was wondering when he had that last restart and he got such a huge gap, if that was necessarily a good thing, because we've seen at these type of tracks how second, third, fourth, they're able to draft right back up the leader on the back straightaway.
Yeah, I mean, they've been able to draft up to him, get side by side. They might lead one lap, but they haven't been able to make a confirmed pass on the 88 machine yet, even with the strong draft that we're seeing them, with the closing speed that they have here off of 4. I mean, they're getting right on the back bumper of the 88 machine. We'll see if they're able to make the pass here into turn number 1.
Jason Brophy hugs the bottom, then Johnston goes around the outside. He edges out by maybe half a car length off of 2. If Welker sticks with him, they may have this work. But look here on the outside. Here comes Cass Silman 3 wide.
Cass Silman thought he had enough momentum to take it 3 wide, but I think he just lost all that time entering the corner. He had a great run, but once again, that inside line holding it strong with Brophy still there, and Nicholas Johnston not able to make the pass.
Now the blue and white 17 of Cohen Evans joins the mix, along with Kite Bommersbach. So a couple of guys that kind of were running middle of the top 10 for the first third of this race. Now they're up here battling for spots inside of the top 5.
I mean, it's kind of just these guys, when they're trying to make these passes, their goal is to pinch the guy on the bottom. So they're pinching Brophy, not trying to give him any space to drift up to possibly carry his momentum. But that car is so stable on that white line that he's not even needing to worry about drifting up, as we're almost 4 wide for the lead.
My goodness, Mitch Welker looked to the outside of Johnston. Silman looked to the outside of Welker. And to your point, almost 4 wide there. So we've got about 7 cars up here in this lead pack. To update, the driver that was involved in the 3rd caution, Aiden Pastorius, and the driver that was involved in the 4th caution, Mitchell Riggs, still extensive repairs on pit road. They are still there. Looks like Danny Roberts may be eliminated from the checkered flag picture as well. His car somewhat off the pace. He's running about 3 seconds behind Riley Thompson. Looks like he may be losing the draft, and that car may not be fully up to speed.
Yeah, I think Danny Roberts was trying to come in if there was anything more he could do to that machine, but it's not looking good for the 41. He is still extremely off the pace and just not running near as fast as everyone else out here. I mean, he is running almost 10 miles per hour slower than everyone else.
Right now, you've got the top 9 all separated by less than a second. That's Will Roberts right there behind Mike Hurley. Right behind him, you got the 38 of J.J. Odell. Odell is making only his 2nd start of the season. His first start was back at the Milwaukee Mile, and he finished inside of the top 10. So maybe a sleeper to watch here to maybe sneak out another top 10 run. As we haven't mentioned him yet today, but he's still there up to speed, and right now just inside of the top 10 here at Chicagoland.
Yeah, he's one of those cars that possibly could make it here to the end with these pit stops, and just with one more stop, he'll be good. Another car that's made some bold moves, Will Roberts, after having that incident coming into the pits, he's up to 8th and still on the back of this lead pack, waiting to make his move on where he wants to go. We're just riding the high line at the moment.
Inside the cockpit of that number 39 machine, and you'll notice right there, it's something that these drivers are doing, especially on these straightaways. They want to go up against the wall. That's to carry the straightaway speed off the corner, and you can see them do a little bit of counter steering, turning the wheel just a little bit to the right, letting it drift up just a little bit into the middle and outside grooves. As right now he's in a pretty heated battle with Ryan Heater for that 7th position.
Now Will Roberts and you got Mike Hurley and Ryan Heater all around one another. Now you got Cohen Evans as well as Bommersbach. With Will Roberts still just cruising on the high line. I think he might have found something up there because he is just passing one car after another, making this high line work. I think that 3rd groove might be finally coming in after taking 34 laps for it to finally come in.
All right, I'm going to ask the question, and if a caution comes out, I quit. Pit road, if we end up having this go green to the end, pit road could be the difference maker. I mean, if you're Nicholas Johnson, Mitch Welker, any of these guys back here, realizing that every effort you're making to get around Jason Brophy's not working, is there any benefit, do you think, of some of these guys thinking about jumping to pit road 1 or 2 laps sooner than the 88?
I think the only cars that can think about short pitting are the ones that have already were the last ones to pit. So that's going to be Riley Thompson. Really, I think he's the only one out here that could possibly do it. Maybe also Munoz and Odell and Hurley. These guys could possibly think about short pitting. But Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson, the only ones in my picture that could possibly short pit because of how late they pitted compared to everyone else. They can come out here, short pit compared to everyone else, and possibly make it to the end. But it is such a small margin of where these leaders are going to have to pit to where everyone else can make it.
4 drivers in the top 5 have all found victory lane this season. Cass Silman is the lone man out, looking for his first win on the year, right now in that 4th position. Will Roberts, to your point, he continues to charge. He's now cracked the top 5. Seems like he's kind of slotted into that position, though, as he continues to try and get some momentum on the high side. The bad news for him, though, is that Mitch Welker, Nicholas Johnson, they're also running that outside line.
Yeah, I mean, they're running the high line on the straightaway, but they're not running as high as Will Roberts. I mean, Will Roberts coming into these corners is almost up against the wall, hugging it, and these guys are running close to the mid to almost 3rd lane when they're coming around the corners.
See right there, kind of straddles the 2nd and 3rd lane, does Will Roberts, through 1 and 2, and you can see him close up to the back bumper of Cass Silman as Johnston again gets alongside of Jason Brophy going into turn 3, but no dice when they come out of turn 4. Brophy clears him for the top spot yet again.
You know, I know this is from a different league that we broadcast, but this is giving me flashbacks of us watching Texas being ran with some cars back then, where we were seeing some battles where the inside car was just winning almost every single time on the inside. That outside car was just struggling to make any passes.
Definitely agree with you. That definitely throws my memory back to that as well. However, in that one, we ended up having where the inside and outside line, neither one was really able to gain an advantage over the other. Right now, Brophy is clearly getting the advantage, especially on center and exit on that inside line over Nicholas Johnston, who I thought Johnston might be thinking about making that move to the inside as he got awfully close there to the back bumper of Brophy. Now slingshots back to the outside, trying to make the move out of 4.
Yeah, I mean, he darted down, trying to get a little bit of draft off of the 88 and then throwing his car back up, just trying to carry more speed on the straightaway, but not able to make it work as it looked like that move was a little late to be trying to make that drafting move. He's got to make it a lot sooner. Off the exit, dip it down, stay behind the 88, get the run into the corner, and maybe you'll be able to make the pass, but you're going to have to carry a lot more speed to make the run on the 88. It just seems like on the restarts, it's the only time that you have enough momentum and space between yourself and the leader to possibly make that pass, but it hasn't been strong enough for these cars.
This has also cast my memory back to a race earlier on this season at Michigan when Jason Brophy was the leader at that time in the closing stages, and he kept his car down on that inside line just like he has been here tonight at Chicagoland. Didn't pan out for him, though, on the final lap as somebody made a move there to the inside. They hooked bumpers, and Brophy found himself spinning on the back straightaway on the final lap, eventually crossed the line. I believe it was back in the 14th position. So I almost kind of get the feeling here he's running the risk, especially if he continues to do this in the closing stages, of almost having a Michigan deja vu.
Well, someone that's having a ton of issues. It looks like Will Robert might have grazed the wall a couple of laps ago and now is just continuing to drift back. He's back in 10th when he was up in 5th at one point.
Yeah, he mentioned he had found something up there on that outside line, but we've seen that third groove, and especially up in the fourth groove, sometimes there's just no grip there and the car doesn't want to turn. We saw Zach Buchanan up into the wall as a result of that earlier on, and Will Roberts may have met the same fate. And obviously, the contact that can be made with the right side of the car can certainly affect your machine for the remainder of this race. We have now just reached the halfway point as we've got a battle for the lead, and it's over.
Nicholas Johnston, I don't know if he squeezed Brophy or Brophy made a mistake, but Brophy does not look comfortable out there anymore on the inside. I think his tires might have drifted off. We haven't gone this long of a green flag stint yet, and I think we found the spot where that inside line just doesn't work anymore.
Maybe the point of the race. I don't know if it necessarily works with these Indy cars, but I do know in stock cars, if you run that inside line too long, that right front tire heat kicks up, and you get long enough into a run, the car does not want to turn, and that might have been what happened there to Jason Brophy, who has now fallen from first all the way back to the 4th position, and Johnston now out in front.
Johnson now doing the same thing that Brophy was doing, hugging that inside line, not letting anyone by. We'll see if that 28 has the strong enough car to do so. And it just looks like, yeah, that Brophy holding that inside line for too long, heated it up, and his car just drifted up, and he lost so much speed in the corner where once he was dominant.
Drivers have now been out there for 34 laps on their tires, at least most of the drivers up here inside of the top 5. A number of drivers also came to pit road under the last caution, so they don't have quite as many laps on their tires. I think the driver out there with the fewest laps on his tires right now would be the 7th place running Riley Thompson. See him right there trying to get by Kite Bommersbach for 6th.
Yeah, it's going to be Andrew Wood in 5th and Riley Thompson in 7th. Those are the two cars that were the last cars to come on pit road on our last caution. So they're running on 27 lap old tires and fuel, while everyone else is around 35 to around 29. So difference in pit strategies and, you know, looking at the fuel window and how long this race was going to be, it was going to be a pit strategy race from top to bottom, and it's looking like it could be a good one if we continue staying green.
So right now, if your drivers like Nicholas Johnston, Mitch Welker, Cass Silman, Jason Brophy, who have not been to pit road for the last 2 cautions, you're basically, your target lap right now is at least to make it to lap 100, I'm assuming, to make absolutely certain you know you're probably going to be able to make it to the checkered flag if we go green from now till the finish.
100's your goal, but it's going to be a stretch for a lot of these cars. I don't even think they'll make to 100. I think it's going to be around lap 90 maybe 93 to 95 is where they'll hit when they'll get to the time that they need to pit. But Jason Brophy has not been in the draft for very long. I don't see him making it as far as everyone else, as well as Nicholas Johnson. He wasn't really in the draft of Brophy that much. He was someone that will probably not make it that long. It's Mitch Welker and Cass Silman that I see making it furthest out of this first group. But we'll have to wait and see where things land, as you still see Andrew Wood in fifth, just chugging along.
Something might have happened again to either Will Roberts, or maybe something happened to Rodrigo Munoz, because Roberts continues to free fall back to 12th position, now under fire from Munoz for that spot, and Munoz was up there inside of the top 10, and he has really faded back as well. I don't know if maybe some of these guys back here experiencing the same kind of tight issue that Jason Brophy experienced when he was out in the lead.
Yeah, looking back, it was more so that Will Roberts drifted back to Munoz. Munoz was kind of just lingering back, and yeah, the tightness is kicking in for these drivers. And it looks like Silman might be drifting away from our top two.
Right now, Brophy, Johnston and Welker have gapped the third place Silman by about now 0.7 of a second. And Silman may be drifting back to Jason Brophy, who also has lost quite a bit of touch. He's about 1.5 seconds behind race leader Nicholas Johnston. The best battle on track right now is going on from 5th place on back. Andrew Wood, Kite Bommersbach, Riley Thompson, all in the same vicinity, battling for spots just inside and outside of the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, this is just showing who's been saving their tires and who's been taking care of them and who hasn't. And you know, Brophy was trying his best to stay up front and just wasn't able to keep his tires as clean as possible. I'm wondering when we'll see, or if we'll see, Andrew Wood or Riley Thompson trying to make a push for the lead, or if they're just going to stay where they're at, knowing that they're comfortable to make it to at least lap 100, if not even further than that. Everyone else, though, they're kind of in a limbo spot. We could possibly be seeing Brophy and Johnston come in here in the next 2 to 8 laps or so is where we'll see the window for all these drivers. But I think 2 to about 5 laps is when we'll start seeing the 28 and the 88 come in.
I'll give these guys that stayed out under the last caution the benefit of the doubt that maybe they saved a maximum of 2 laps under pacing. We are now 44 laps into this run, so if they did manage to save that much under those 6 pace laps, then they're still going to have to be on pit road somewhere in the next 8 laps. And to your point, that's like around lap 95, lap 96. That's another 4 laps that they would have to save here under that next run, that next fuel run.
You know, it looks like Brophy able to catch up to Silman, who's drifting back further and further. And Mitch Welker, he is in a spot where he's not going to have the momentum on the outside. You're going to have to wait to see for that inside car to make a mistake. And you're just seeing, if you're in the lead, you're feeling confident for the first about 30 laps or so on a run. And then after that, you saw Brophy drift back, and it's all about saving your tires. If you can hold that inside line, you probably have this race won.
We've worked 4 cautions, so every time these drivers have come to pit road, it has been under pacing, under the yellow flag. Remember when we saw Will Roberts lock up the brakes there, coming to pit road, almost crawling to pit road there under pacing? He spun out. I'm almost wondering if we might see drivers struggle with the braking points here if they have to make green flag pit stops. Could be the first time tonight they'd have to do that.
And also, if they spin out under the pit road lane, it won't bring out a caution. It's not on the racing surface. So that is a risk that you do not want to put in. You want to be as careful as possible, as smooth as possible into these pits. For some of these guys, it's going to be your money stop. For others, they're just trying to have as clean of a stop until they have to come in again to maybe do just a splash and go.
All right, so at the line here, about somewhere in the next 5 laps, we are going to see these two for sure on pit road, along with Cass Silman, Jason Brophy, Kite Bommersbach. Those were the drivers that right now, along with Cohen Evans, have gone the longest on this run without coming to pit road. It should turn the race lead over at some point to Andrew Wood. The question is, though, when do you come to pit road? And I have the feeling, based on the alliance that Johnston and Welker have, with Welker being Johnston's crew chief for quite a number of the races this season, they're probably communicating with each other. I wouldn't be surprised to see these two on pit road on the same lap.
Yeah, they did it last week where they came in at the same time, and we talked with them asking, hey, if you switch things up, do you think you got a chance? And they're like, yeah, probably, but we just wanted to keep it clean and work together on this. So I'm imagining both of them will come in at the same time, and I think we'll know it's when Mitch Welker isn't trying to make a pass like he is right now. They're kind of just in cruise control, trying to give each other space. I would imagine they're coming in this time by.
See if they make the indication to hit pit lane. If they do, they're going to be about 6 laps short of making it on fuel to the checkers. Nope, they're going to stay out one more lap.
Well, my eyes deceived me, I guess, there.
They'll stretch at least one more time. I think they could maybe go one more lap should they so choose. Whoa, Johnston!
Around!
Saw that car wiggle through the center of the corner. I didn't know what was going on there, but he nearly just looped it. He's in the grass on the back straightaway. No caution.
That's off the racing surface. He'll be trying to creep back onto it. Johnston back racing, but yeah, everyone's still running out there, not coming into the pits for another lap. And Johnston might have just thrown away his race. He needs a caution badly to get back into this thing.
I noticed that car started wiggling through the center of the corner, and I thought maybe he was just starting to slow down and these two were getting ready to come down and make pit stops, but might have been something other than that. And to your point, he's now all the way back to 12th place. He's going to need a miracle. He's basically going to need a caution to get back into this thing as Welker continues to show the way. He's now been out there for 53 laps, so they saved a lot more under pacing than I thought.
I believe Welker just came over the radio. I believe he might be coming in this time.
Nicholas Johnston just hit pit road as well.
So we're seeing Welker coming into the pits. Everyone else still out there trying to run another lap. And due to Welker being the first car in, hypothetically, he's our short pitter. I mean, he is coming in short pitting over everyone else. We'll see what type of gap he has once we see all the pits cycle through.
See that Andrew Wood was able to get around both Jason Brophy and Cass Silman, as Brophy looks like I thought he was indicating he was coming to pit road, but nope, he's going to stay out an extra lap. I mean, if you're Brophy and Silman and Bommersbach right now, if you can make it to lap 100, then you're pretty certain you're going to be able to make it the rest of the way. Maybe that's why Brophy drifted back. I mean, obviously it looked like his car wasn't handling, but maybe he also was realizing, hey, I can't be out here running laps in this clean air. I'm using up too much fuel. I got to save a little bit here on this run.
And Brophy will be trying to come in, but he overshoots pit road. That's going to be a pit road mistake. He almost missed it. But Brophy able to get into the pits, and we're waiting to see who else will be the next car in. Cass Silman, as well as Bommersbach and others, we're imagining will be the next ones in. It looks like Ryan Heater is going to be coming to the pits, as well as Bommersbach.
There, the 41 of Danny Roberts. Looks like he was coming down pit road. Yep, there he is. Ryan Heater and Bommersbach as well. Will Roberts looks like he just completed his service.
Munoz
he's still out there.
Silman just indicated that he'll be coming into the pits, so pit cycle's happening. Cohen Evans will probably be the next car after Silman to be coming in the pits. Not this time. Silman almost overshot it, so multiple times we've seen cars coming in with too much speed. It's hard. I mean, these tires are so worn. These drivers trying to push for so far that they are running low on these tires, but it's good to see these guys have pushed it as far as they have. Over 100 laps ran, so they should be good to the end from here on out.
Andrew Wood from the lead onto pit road, and you can clearly see it too, just how much brake they're putting into it coming to the commitment line, as I believe Cohen Evans is in this lap as well. I mean, those front tires, they aren't even rotating. They are just completely stopped with the front brakes locking up, trying to get down to pit road speed.
3 more cars still out there. Riley Thompson, freshest tires, quote unquote, of the guys that are still out there running, and he'll be coming in this time by. Mike Hurley's coming into the pits, and then it's going to be as well as, it looks like the 38th as well coming in.
AJ Odell should complete out the cycle of pit stops, and right now Depending on where Brophy is, looks like Andrew Wood could very well cycle around as the race leader. He's just now coming off pit road. That's Kite Bommersbach behind him in the 1. Actually, Bommersbach might cycle around to the lead if he can get around the 32. So, boy, these pit stops certainly shuffled the field up.
It really did, and it looks like Bommersbach made it clear, and he has the 1 machine. The car I said he possibly could be the guy that could win this thing, who's had not like bad luck, but had the chances to win at a couple of races. He had a chance to hold the bottom, just wasn't able to, giving it back to Andrew Wood.
As we're looking right now of the drivers that came to pit road when they did, the 2 drivers I'd be a little bit worried about would be Mitch Welker in the 76, Nicholas Johnston in the 28, because Johnston came to pit road on lap 98. Welker came to pit road on lap 99. The question of, at a track where you're basically flat out, if they can save 1 to 2 laps respectively, that might be too tall a task, especially with the fact that they would at the same time have to try and fight their way up there to the front.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch Welker right now actually had some damage he needed to repair, and he's got himself all the way back in 14th position. So Mitch Welker's race did not go the way he wanted it to with that damage that occurred. I think that might have been when he came into the pits, possibly. I'm going to go back and see what happened to the 76 machine.
It's up at the front. Battle right now is going to be between 4 machines. Andrew Wood, Kite Bommersbach, Jason Brophy, and Cass Silman. Right now all separated by half a second. Riley Thompson right now holding down the 5th position. He's a little bit more than 2 seconds behind this 4-way battle for the lead. Cohen Evans right now in 6th. He's got Ryan Heater hounding him for that spot in 7th. Nicholas Johnston, after his slide through the grass on the back straightaway, he is up to the 8th position, but certainly not anywhere close to where he was before those pit stop cycles began. Right now, your top 10 completed by Mike Hurley in the 33, and he's got Rodrigo Munoz right to his outside in that 10th position. The last cars that are still running on the lead lap right now, Will Roberts in 11th, JJ Odell in 12th, Danny Roberts 13th, and as you mentioned, Mitch Welker with the extended stay on pit road in 14th. Right now, Roberts and Welker are 1 lap down. 12 cars on the lead lap of 14 still on the track, running with 42 laps to go.
Yeah, I went back. It was hard to tell where the damage came from for Mitch Welker, but he almost was in the pits for over a minute trying to get those repairs done. So Mitch Welker, a 1 lap down, possibly had a chance to win this thing, out of contention. And now you got Andrew Wood up here, won our first race, trying to win the last one of the season. And Andrew Wood has been having an up and down season all season long, and finishing with a win would put some great momentum going into the 2020 B season.
To your point, started out the season hot, taking the win at Motegi. Then when we got around the point where we had all those road course races one after another, the 32 car kind of hit a little bit of a slump, but he's turned up the heat again here in the closing stages of the season. He's worked his way up to 3rd in the points coming into this race, trying to finish podium in the standings, and of course trying to get his 2nd win on the year. But I'll tell you what, Kite Bommersbach's not going to let him have it. And Riley Thompson, he was about 2 seconds behind the top 4. All of a sudden, he reeled them in. He's up to the 3rd position. That 56 car is flying.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson were on the same strategy of when they were coming in around the pits. And Riley Thompson came in 1 lap sooner. 1 lap later than these guys up here. So it's crazy to see the difference in pace with slightly fresher tires compared to everyone else.
All these drivers were on pit road around lap 100 or later. The only one that came in a little bit earlier on lap 99 was Jason Brophy, but I would assume that he probably could save that 1 extra lap, especially with the fact that Brophy, I think, went the furthest on the set of tires that we've seen all night long, and that was 55 laps. Yes, he did have the aid of some caution laps to save some fuel and stretch it that far, but I kind of get the feeling if he was able to make it 55 laps, that he probably could make it the 51 necessary to get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, we saw some of the guys in the back of the pack able to stay for about 57 laps to 58 laps was the longest that they went, and that was with our caution that we had. So these guys out here, they're feeling pretty confident that they can make it to the end of this race. Even Brophy probably feeling a little confident that he can make it to the end. As long as he stays in the draft, Yes, there's not those caution laps to save fuel from there, but if he can stay in the draft and then make a final push in the last 15 laps or so, he should be all right.
Riley Thompson to the lead, getting by Andrew Wood. His speedway program has been stellar at the mile and a half. So he was running up in the top 5 all night at Homestead before a pit road mistake under green flag conditions had him finish out of the race in the 11th position. But then you go back to our last mile and a half track at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the closest finish of the season, 4 1,000ths between himself and Jason Brophy. Brophy taking the checkers there at Las Vegas. So Riley Thompson trying to finish one position better here today, but he and Andrew Wood continue to battle side by side. And if they continue to do that, that's going to allow Brophy to be able to close in on these guys. But right now, not really closing in. He might be saving, trying to save just a little bit there.
Yeah, saving a little bit. Like I said, I think the last 15 laps, we'll see that 88 machine try to make his final push. And right now, he's just in cruise control, making sure he's good to the end. But these guys up front, they know they are good to the end. They can push it as hard as they want. That's why we're seeing Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson racing the way that they are right now.
Be 33 laps to go at the line here as Wood just barely edged out Riley Thompson on that outside line, but Thompson with the inside into turn 1 will take the race lead back, and we have to prepare for the possibility we could end up having a caution here in these final 30 laps. So if the caution comes out, if you're up at the front, if you're in the middle of the pack, if you're at the rear of the pack, do you all come to pit road, or is there one of those sections that might decide to stay out, either keep or get track position?
Oh, if we have a caution with about 30 laps to go, everyone is coming in. It doesn't matter how much later we go from here on out. If there's a caution, everyone is coming in. The fresher tires will dominate, and you'll pass everyone in practically a lap or two. So these drivers not expecting a lot of challenge in someone staying out if there's a caution.
Right now, Andrew Wood, Riley Thompson continue to swap the lead back and forth. Wood takes the lead over in 3 and 4. Thompson takes it right back in 1 and 2. Now Jason Brophy starts to close in on these guys. He's led the most laps here tonight so far, trying to go back-to-back at the mile and a half tracks. But right now, he's going to have to get by 2 pretty strong machines. And in terms of tire wear, he's the one that's at the deficit.
Yeah, Brophy is the one that is, he has I think it's, doing quick math, it's a 3-lap difference between himself and Andrew Wood and a 4-lap difference between Riley Thompson and Brophy. And yeah, Brophy is at the disadvantage of all the cars up here. Everyone else in the top 5 have fresher tires than the 88, but we know he's good until about lap 30 or so, lap 30, 32 on those tires. That's when we started to see Brophy have his issues. We don't know if he was purposely trying to save or if those tires just got too hot and worn down too much. We'll have to wait and see here in the later half of this race, but Brophy has to think about that last stint on these tires. Lap 32 was when we saw him drift up and have some issues.
On board with Kite Bommersbach right now in that 4th position. We saw when the pit lane cycle completed that Bommersbach swung around the outside of Andrew Wood and took the race lead. He was passed right back by Wood, but Bommersbach now was slotted into the 4th spot. Not really seeing Bommersbach make a charge right at the moment, which makes me wonder if he might be trying to save his tires, have something maybe advantage grip-wise here in the closing stages if we remain green to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it one more time. I think it's 15 laps to go. It's difficult to make these charges. You got to really stay in the draft on the backstretch, and then possibly make some moves, different moves on the corners. But 15 laps to go. I think that's when we'll see these guys that have freshest tires go out there and push it. But Riley Thompson, car with the freshest tires out of the top 4 that are right there on top of one another.
All right, so in the first half of this race, when Brophy was out in front, he didn't give up the bottom. We saw Nicholas Johnson, Mitch Welko try to make moves on him, could not do it. Right now, we're seeing Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson swapping the lead back and forth, and almost looks like they're kind of opening up the bottom for the other one to be able to make that move in the respective corners 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Are they sizing each other up? Are they just kind of right now trying to get to the end of this race and then they start getting serious about this? I mean, is this right now just kind of, in a way, some congeniality out there on the racetrack?
Yeah, I think they're just playing with one another at this point, trying to make the last part of this race interesting and fun for the viewers. But the car that's they I don't know if they got any word from our leaders about what happened to Brophy and Johnston on the fact that if you just held the bottom, your tires are going to get worn. They'll wear down much quicker if you just stay down there. And it might be the move of, hey, I'll let you wear down your tires so I can make the final move. But these guys are right now probably sizing each other up at the moment.
It's kind of interesting because you kind of wonder when this alliance, if you will, is going to go away. Will it be when Thompson's out in front, or will it be when Andrew Wood's out in front? Because you know that whoever is out in front, when it gets down to the closing stages, they're going to try and do what Brophy did, hug that inside line and force the other driver to go to the outside line. So you kind of wonder the timing of who's going to be out in front when these two finally decide to draw swords and duke it out for this checkered flag.
Well, it seems like usually the switch of whoever's up top and who's on the bottom is off of turn number 4. The car just drifts up. I mean, just like that. I mean, we see our leaders drift up, coming off the corner and giving way too much room. When Brophy was up front, he was hugging the white line everywhere on the track. He was not drifting up at all, and that was the difference. But at the moment, Riley Thompson feeling good as they're passing Mitch Welker, who's on the bottom at the moment.
You talked about Jason Brophy. His car went away about 30 laps into the last run. We are now on the 30th lap of this run for Brophy, and he has lost the third position. Kite Bommersbach got around him, moving into the podium spot. Brophy right now riding in his tire tracks in that 4th position, but you kind of get the feeling that maybe again, as this run goes on, the handling and the ability to turn is going away for the 88 machine, who started from the pole. Meanwhile, behind them, a good battle going on for 6th place. That's where you've got Cohen Evans trying to hold off Riley Heater. There's about 2 laps difference between the tires of these two drivers.
Yeah, the tire difference is what's really making this happen and making these moves. It looks like Jason Brophy might have touched the apron that caused both those drivers in 3rd and 4th to lose time on our leaders, and it's turning into a 2-horse race at this point.
Yeah, that's not what they needed right there. I believe Kite Bommersbach was still in the draft of Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson, but that little bit of a checkup has dropped them now back to almost a full second behind the top 2. And so now it's a mano-a-mano with Wood and Thompson. And we saw before that even 2 cars working together are not able to pass 1 car on the outside line. So this is going to be interesting here as we're closing in on 10 laps to go. Whoever's running in 2nd place, the only move I can really see them possibly being able to make to try and take the win is the move I was talking about, as Thompson gets loose off of 4.
I think he might have grazed the wall there. He is really slow now, losing a ton of time on our leader. Yeah, I think he hit it with his rear right tire, and he's going to be getting out of the way for everyone else. Riley Thompson had a good run, got his win last week, but here today, luck ran out for the 56 machine.
Boy, tough break there for Thompson, who was running at the time in 2nd place, had been exchanging the lead back and forth with Andrew Wood. But now's the question. We talked about the fact Chicagoland is such a draft-reliant track. Bommersbach and Jason Brophy, they might be close enough to be able to do a kind of a 2-car tandem here. They have to make up about 1.3 seconds on Andrew Wood in 16 laps. They're both running different lines here. I'm not sure, even as a 2-car tandem, if they're going to have enough speed to get up there to that 32 car.
And they also got to get by all this lap traffic that's going to be in front of them. Between them, you got Nicholas Johnson, who just came off of the pits. He was not able to make it to the end, so he had to make a pit stop. And he'll be good to the end now. And that was one of those cars that we weren't sure if he was going to make it to the end. Did not with the fuel strategy that he was on.
Rigo Munoz there ahead of Kite Bommersbach. It looks like Bommersbach wanted the outside line. Munoz ran it as well through 3 and 4. May have held up the one machine just the least little bit again. The gap has increased to 1.3 seconds between Kite Bommersbach and Andrew Wood. Now it looks like Bommersbach will be clear of traffic. Brophy going to do the same. We'll see if Bommersbach's going to have enough drafting help from Brophy to get up here and make it a battle for the win here with Andrew Wood. But Andrew Wood's now got a drafting partner with Nicholas Johnston, who is up to speed.
Nicholas Johnson up to speed and has the fresher tires, so he's going to be moving a lot quicker than everyone else, and that little toe that Andrew Wood's getting is helping him pull and make this gap for second so much bigger.
I'm trying to jump to the outside there. He had a run on Nicholas Johnson. I'm not sure that's smart. If I'm that 32, I want to ride behind the 28. Keep the benefit of his draft, because I kind of get the feeling that if he and the 28 continue to get side by side, that's going to allow Bommersbach to start closing. I mean, that last couple of corners right there, he just closed up 2/10, talking about the one machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're trying to run the high line to scrub off the extra speed that you have going into the corner and possibly get back in line, utilize the draft on the straightaway. I mean, looking at the telemetry, these guys are still gapping themselves from Bommersbach. It's now up to a 1.5 gap. But yeah, for that quick second, it looked like with them side by side for too long, it wasn't helping him. But now with the way that they're running, they're gaining time. And you're also seeing other machines trying to get out of the way by just running the apron. That's, I believe that's Mitch Welker once again that they just passed.
Battle for the 5th position right now between Cohen Evans in the 17, Ryan Heater in the 77. Both of these drivers trying to finish out the season with a top 5 run. Cohen Evans has 2 top 5s on the season, while Ryan Heater doesn't have any, so he's looking for his first and only of the season right now. But looks like Cohen Evans not willing to give up the bottom, so Ryan Heater's going to have to try something here in these final 9 laps. And looking at the interval, the lap time still just about the same. Bommersbach was maybe 3/100ths faster than Andrew Wood that time, but the gap still is about a 2 3/10.
Yeah, even if they continue with the rate that they are gaining on our leaders, I don't think that there's enough time to catch up to Andrew Wood. And also, they got to get by Danny Roberts, who's just kind of a sitting duck at the moment. We saw the damage that he had earlier on in the race. He's trying to fix it up, and he's running decent lap times compared to everyone else, but is still running decently slow, that 41 machine, who is 2 laps down.
Right now, Andrew Wood running by himself in terms of lead lap cars. Kite Bommersbach running by himself. You got about maybe 0.4 of a second separating Brophy from Cass Silman, but the fact that Bommersbach does not have anybody either in front or behind him really that's up to speed to draft with, it's really just car versus car in terms of raw speed between himself and Andrew Wood, and right now both cars appear to be even. That's not good if you're trying to close up 1.1 seconds with 7 laps to go.
Oh, I mean, I got to give credit, though. In the past 2 laps, he's gained 0.4 on our leader, just because Andrew Wood he's drifting up and kind of, yes, he's still using the toe of of Nicholas Johnson, but Johnson's times have slowed up a ton.
6 laps now, 5 to go at the line when Andrew Wood hits it. The gap has now been cut down to a second. Looks like it's going to be Kite Bommersbach having to close it up about 0.2 every lap to even be on the back bumper of Andrew Wood here in the closing stages of this race, and that time looked like he lost a little bit of ground through 1 and 2.
Yeah, that time he did lose time a little bit on our leader, but 2 laps ago he was running about 0.3 faster than our leader, so it's still possible, but I think those tires are going to slowly start to wear in, and Bommersbach running a 1/10 faster that lap. It's less than a second, but is there enough time for that one machine, if he even catches the draft, to run down the 32 of Andrew Wood?
Time is running out. It'll be 3 to go this time by. Kind of ironic, too, if you think about it. Nicholas Johnston's going to win this championship. He's trying to finish this race in the 11th position, only 1 lap down. Andrew Wood behind him took the checkered flag back at Twin Ring Motegi. The driver he beat out, Nicholas Johnston, who right now is giving him the toe to try and keep him ahead of Kite Bommersbach for Wood's 2nd win of the season, making it a bookend year here in the Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series. 2 laps away from taking his 2nd checkered flag. 3 miles to go for Andrew Wood.
And it's less than a second once he crosses the line for Bommersbach. That is the gap between himself and the leader. It's been like that for the past lap and a half. And it's such a demoralizing feeling being so close, knowing that you were running a little bit faster than the leader after the issues that were going on, and possibly could have caught up to Andrew Wood if Nicholas Johnson wasn't there giving the toe. Is Nicholas Johnson able to make a pass up to the top 10 now?
Andrew Wood It's the white flag you saw on board with Kite Bomber Spock. He could see the 32 out the windshield, but he's just not close enough. About 0.8 of a second. As Andrew Wood, who took the first checkered flag of the season, is going to take the last checkered flag of the season. He's going to win the Deep Dish 225 at Chicagoland Speedway.
As well as Nicholas Johnston finally can say officially he is the champion of this year's Indy Series. I mean, this was a great run by Nicholas Johnston getting the championship done. Consistent from top to bottom. Started off with a second place finish, and I think really today might have been his weakest finish of the whole entire season.
That and Las Vegas. I don't know what it is with these smaller 1.5-mile type tracks, but those have been the two Achilles heel for the 28. But to have that 44-point buffer, he was able to have a night like tonight. That spin on the back straightaway, had to pit a second time short on fuel, but that buffer zone certainly helped him out with the issues he had tonight to still overcome. He'll be hoisting the championship trophy here this evening after a job well done this year. 5 trips to victory lane, 4 at the road courses, 1 at the Indianapolis 500 as Andrew Wood burns it down on the front straightaway.
And now Nicholas Johnston on the other side of the finish line doing his burnouts as well. So these guys both celebrating tonight, and both for 2 different reasons, but I think that's a great way for Andrew Wood to finish off the season with that momentum to carry on forward, and just an overall great season for that 28 machine.
Absolutely. Andrew Wood, with this win here tonight, he will officially finish out the year 3rd in the point standings behind Andrew Wood and Jason Brophy, who brought it home in 3rd place here this evening. So you ended up having 2 of your top 3 in points finish up in the podium. Nicholas Johnston 10th, bring home the championship here tonight as we look at the finishing results from this evening's event. And pretty good runs here as well for a couple of guys that made some limited starts. Cass Silman, I believe this was only his 3rd start of the season, brings it home with a top 5. Ryan Heater, his 7th start of the season, finishes in 5th.
Yeah, both those guys were hoping to have good finishes here at the end of the season, and they got it done with a top 10.
Owen Evans brings it home in 6th. Mike Hurley, I'd have to look back, but this might be his best finish of the season in 7th. Will Roberts will finish in 8th, and he was the last car to finish on the lead lap, with Rodrigo Munoz and champion Nicholas Johnston finishing in the top 10. J.J. Odell finished in 11th. Danny Roberts 12th. Mitch Welker finished in 13th place. We saw Riley Thompson get into the wall near the end of this race. He'll finish in 14th. And the rest of these drivers were involved in 4 cautions that flew here during the course of this evening. Mitchell Riggs, Hayden Pastioris, Zach Buchanan, Evan Adams, Philip Clark, and Richard Nash. They did not reach the conclusion of tonight's event. But as Andrew Wood continues to celebrate in victory lane, let's get a word with some of our top 3 finishers. Let's kick things off here with Jason Brophy, who started pole, led the first half of this race, brings it home in the 3rd position. And Jason, we saw there around, I think it was lap 80 or so, all of a sudden your car seemed to lose speed. Did you feel the car maybe tighten up on you with running the inside line as long as you had?
I made a big mistake going into that corner. I started turning too early, had to open it up, and that meant Nick was going to get me easy. So at that point, I knew I hadn't dealt with dirty air pretty much at all. So I didn't quite know what to do, and I also knew I needed to save some fuel. So I just kind of didn't fight too hard to get back because I knew I needed to save fuel. So as everybody kind of streamed by me, I went and hopped in the draft and turned down the fuel mix and saved as much as I could. Sadly, I kind of came up just short on the save in the first part, so I had to run worse on the second. So,
No, Sam and I. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it got tight for me 25 to 35 those laps until I figured out that I could run more weight jack or run the wall, get some clean air.
Sam and I were talking here top of the program about the fact that you weren't able to make every race this season. And had you been able to make every race this season, especially with the finishes you had here in the closing stages of the year, it may have been a pretty good points battle between yourself and Nicholas Johnston for that championship. If you think about tonight, you finishing in 3rd, Johnston in 10th. I mean, in your mind, do you think it really would have been a mano-a-mano for that title here tonight had you been able to make all the starts this year?
Yeah, I like Motegi. I but I think I still made 12 races. So even if you gave me a win at Motegi, I'm pretty sure Nick would have still had it. So it would have closed it up a little, but he still won it by 35 points or something like that. So with the 2 drops, I think I had Michigan as my lowest scoring race. It'd have been close, but it'd have taken being perfect. Nick was pretty good this year. So yeah.
Yeah, Jason.
Congrats.
I mean, you talked about it today with able to change stuff with the new iRacing update that came out. How helpful is that now with the machines on ovals, being able to change and make adjustments on track?
Quite helpful. I mean, you could get yourself in trouble if you ran it too hard here. If you tried to run the weight jacker up, too high, you'd be faster at the beginning of the run. But I think possibly that might be what caused Nick to lose it off too. It's just he had the weight jacker too high as he came off the corner and it snapped on him a bit. That's what I noticed with it. So I was did some stuff with the inner roll bars. I don't think I ever went past like 7 or 8 in the weight jacker. I know in practice you could run it all the way up to 20 for the fresh tires and go real fast, but I didn't like what it did to the tires at the end of the run. So it opens up options to kind of make the car handle how you need it to. Opens up options behind people. You can make it looser. So yeah, it's real handy.
Jason, with finishing 3rd here tonight, you solidify yourself with finishing 2nd in the overall standings this season. What kind of momentum does this give you heading into the new season? It's going to be starting up in July.
I hope pretty good momentum. It's hard to say until you go out there and start racing. There's some good tracks on there. There's road courses that I still don't like. So I struggled real bad last week at Watkins Glen. I was awful. That was pretty terrible. I know I ended up coming back 6th, but it took me half a race to figure that one out. So I got to get better at those if I'm going to truly compete, especially if Nick's there. Got to get faster at the road courses. So.
That's Jason Brophy. He finishes out the year with 2 trips to victory lane, 2nd in the point stands. A great overall season for you. And we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
I want to shout out Andrew for winning that race. He ran it pretty well. I joined Team Talent here recently. Granted, I'm still running with GMS for the rest of this season, but so Andrew and I are essentially teammates, especially with me not having any GMS teammates here today. Eric and Matt for being my teammates over the last few years, seasons, I should say, and years actually. But no, they couldn't make it tonight. But I want to shout out them. Will for putting on the league. Evan. Pretty good job today. Drivers kept it real clean the second half. I know it was a little ugly at the beginning, but everybody got it together. And of course, right about the time I need them to, one more caution. But no, everybody did a good job. And Nick for winning the title. So congrats, everybody.
That's Jason Brophy. He brings home 3rd place here tonight at Chicagoland. Congrats on a great season, and we look forward to talking to you next season.
Thank you. Thanks.
Oops. Oh. Accidentally cut him off there. Apologies for that. Let's bring in our 2nd place finisher, Kite Bommersbach, who, after the green flag pit stop cycled around, was the race leader, but then fell back to the 3rd position, fought his way up there to finish in 2nd place. And Kite, we were watching the telemetry there on those final 10 laps, and you kept chipping away just a little bit every single time. Did you just need more laps? Do you think if you maybe had another 5 to 7 laps, you could have gotten up there and battled with the 32 for the win?
No, because I ran out of fuel on the final lap. The main reason why I was gaining time was because he was being held up by a lap car. I had kind of run my tires off at that point, but I had fallen back from the draft with him, just racing with Brophy, and so I don't think I was going to catch him, and then I ran the tires off trying to get up there anyway. But I'm really happy with the 2nd. Obviously I'm running the 1. I'm the reigning champion of this series, and I haven't been on the podium all season. So it's really nice to be running up front, and I'm just happy to be back up here.
Yeah, with the 2nd place finish, you're going to be finishing 5th overall in the point standings here this season. We saw a lot of drivers there when you had to make that round of green flag pit stops have some struggles getting onto pit road. It looked like the cars were pretty gripped up. You had a lot of grip out there on the track, but did you have that same amount of grip trying to get down to pit road entrance?
To be honest, I was totally astonished when I came out in the lead. I didn't think I I really didn't think I hit it that well. I channeled some negative uh, weight jacker into the car, and so that probably helped me. But also at the same time, I kind of made the decision last second and only barely made it on. So since I was able to control it, it worked out. Had I been even a little bit further down the road, it might have ended up in tears. But it set me up for a really good finish. It's just nailing the technical things sometimes that can get you a good result.
Yeah, I mean, Kai, during this race, it seemed like it was so difficult for people to make passes up front for the lead in the beginning parts of this race, but later on, it seemed like everyone was kind of shuffling where they were at. Were you finding any troubles making any passes out here?
I wasn't finding trouble making passes because I wasn't trying to make passes. I put the car up top. I saw pretty quickly that people weren't able to make these passes going down low or holding someone tight. So I just waited the tires out, and then they would fall back to me, and I'd blow by them. So it was really just a waiting game once we got through those crashes at the start. It's just about being tactical.
Well, obviously, a great way for you to end off the season. Your best finish of the season takes place here in the finale with a second place run. We're going to do some shout outs now here, Kite.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to return to the numbers 37. I think this one has been a bit of a curse on me, but thank you guys for broadcasting all season. It's been fun. I can't wait.
That's Kite Bommersbrock, brings it home second place here tonight. He'll finish fifth in the overall standings, and maybe next season we'll see you take a second championship.
Thanks, guys.
And let's go down to Victory Lane where we've got Andrew Wood standing by. And Andrew, I mean, talk about a bookend season. You start out the year with a trip to Victory Lane at Motegi. You finish it out with a win here tonight at Chicagoland. But talk about how those pit stops cycled around there and you find yourself out there in the race lead. Did that surprise you at all?
Nope, that was actually the plan all along. I had a pretty poor qualifying. I really actually messed it up. Like, this might be one of my worst qualifying attempts of the whole season. Just completely messed everything up from start to finish. So my goal was honestly to spend the entire first half of the race just chilling in the back and letting everybody kind of bottle it up in front. So as you might have noticed, I was sitting in like between 11th and 16th for the whole first half of the race, and that was just done on purpose. That last caution came out at the perfect time for me to top off on fuel. I was already in the back anyway, so figured I might as well just come in and just top off real fast. And then, just ride around in the bottom part of the top 10 and just save fuel and go for it when I needed to. And honestly, the strategy just worked out like probably the best that I've ever had before. I mean, even in that last stint there, I was kind of running a little close to it. So I kind of had to chill behind Riley for a little bit and lift a bit and try and save some fuel. So really surprised how this race shook out because I was not expecting to win.
Yeah, we had Kite Bommersbach, second place finisher, up here just moments ago, and he said he was actually running out of fuel there on that final lap. He pitted 2 laps before you did. How close were you on making it on fuel?
I had about 3/4 of a lap left to go in the tank when I crossed the line. Enough to do some burnouts there, some terrible burnouts on top of that. But I mean, you saw it. Riley and I were just full bore, just swapping back and forth. We tried our best to try and get a gap, but on a track like this, you need both people to be completely in tune with each other and know exactly where to make the moves to get the position.
You saw Nicholas Johnston in front of you. Was he helping you or being a disadvantage with him in front of you?
He was being a huge disadvantage, and that's all I'll say on that.
Well, Andrew, obviously a great end to your season. You're going to be finishing third in the overall point standings with this win here tonight, a multi-time winner as well. And we're going to let you do some shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out to Will and Evan and Mike and all the other organizers of this league, the stewards and everybody. This is my 4th full season here. This actually will be my last race for a bit. I'm going to try out some other cars from here on out. So what a way to go out, really. Thank you guys all for the support that you have given me, and you put on some really great races in my time here. So I'm really happy to have shared that with you guys. Flatout Racing Network, you guys really were dedicated this season, and was happy to check back on the streams and check out how these races went from a spectator standpoint. So cheers to you guys for there. Keep doing good work, and you guys will definitely go places. My team, Liam Quinn hasn't been here the last few weeks. He's had some other stuff going on, so sad to not have him around. But we've had Brophy hanging out with us lately, so Brophy really helped me out the last couple of weeks, trying to get me some motivation and really, getting us some good finishes here. And I really definitely feel like I finished the season pretty strong. So, that's pretty much it.
Well, what a way to go out indeed. Andrew Wood is your winner here tonight in the Deep Dish 225 at Chicagoland Speedway. Congrats on a great year.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys.
And last but not least, let's bring in our champion here. Nicholas Johnston brings it home in the 10th position here tonight, but came in already solidified as the champion. I mean, Nick, obviously probably not the finish you were looking for here this evening, but obviously having that point buffer, knowing you were going to win the title, probably not as terrible a 10th place finish to take as it might have been under other circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I knew going in I was just here to have fun, see if I can win the race. And we have the tools now that we can use with the fixed setups, and I was learning how to use those, and I'm sure you guys saw I learned how to make the car way too loose off of turn 2. So that was fun trying to hold on to that. It was really weird. I got sideways and I saved it, and then I looked down at the bars, but okay, I need to change it to tighten it up, and next thing I know, I'm wrecking. So I saved that, and then I thought I could make it on fuel from there, and I couldn't. So I had to repick, come back down, and unfortunately I kind of came out around the leaders. I was just trying to run the rest of my race and finish out the season and win the championship.
I want to go back to the early portions of the race. We saw you and a guy that had been spotting for you for quite a number of races, Mitch Welker, trying to make that outside line work against Jason Brophy. It just kind of seemed like you guys could get him on entry, but then you lost the ground from the center off.
Yeah, it was so hard to pass on decent tires. I mean, one thing that the tools that we have allow us to run in the draft a little bit better and preserve the tires, but also lets the leader kind of just run the very bottom for quite a while. And it took about 20-25 laps until you could really start pinching someone down, and they're going to have to start lifting, have to start getting out of it, and then make that outside lane work. So it was just kind of a waiting game. I was actually really frustrated because that one restart, I guess it'd be the final restart, I gave a huge gap to Jason and had a huge run, and I still couldn't clear him. And I was like, what do I have to do?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of thinking the same exact thing of what did you have to do to get by Brophy at the start, because it seemed like the first half of this race, it was all Brophy. Man, Nicholas, I just want to say congratulations. You put on a great show all season long for us to watch. You just seem like you were Mr. Consistent, and just congratulations on this championship win.
No, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, 14 races, 13 times in the top 10, 5 wins. It was a pretty good year, and hopefully we can come back and defend it next season.
Yeah, we got the new season starting up around the latter middle portion of July. What kind of a mentality you got going into next season? Is it now that you've got this championship, you've kind of set the bar up there and you want to try and meet that bar again next season? Or is it that I've won a championship, now I can maybe try and go out there, try something different to be able to win the championship?
I think it's going to be a little bit difficult. Obviously, coming off a championship, defending is probably one of the hardest things to do. So with Kite this season, you kind of have a target on your back, and people know that you're the guy they got to beat. So I mean, it can make things really difficult. I mean, hopefully, obviously, I want to come out and win every race I can and try to get the championship, but I know it's going to be a difficult thing to do, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it don't.
Well, as Sam alluded to, an unbelievable year for you. 5 trips to victory lane, 3 of them all back-to-back-to-back at road courses. And we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
First, I just want to thank you guys for doing the broadcast week in and week out. You do a great job. Fuel Racing League for putting all this on. They do give us some good fields and some good setups. The setup tonight was great. I actually really got to commend the guys on that. It was a lot of fun to drive. Project 2 Motorsports for all of their help. I think my boy Josh might be still watching. What's up, Josh? And want to give a shout out to Liam Sheen.
Well, we're gonna have to get used to seeing you out there sporting the number 1 next season, as Nicholas Johnston is your champion here this year in the 2020 Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series. Congrats on a great season, and go enjoy your championship.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
And so as the sun had set on Chicagoland, it now sets on the season. Nicholas Johnston, we already knew Sam was the champion coming in, but even though you already know you've won the championship, you don't really, I don't think, have it set in until you've crossed the start-finish line in the season finale, taking the checkered flag.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good feeling crossing the line, finishing off the race, and knowing that you are the champion. And congratulations, Nicholas Johnston. Like I said, Mr. Consistent, seemed like all season long. And also to Andrew Wood, won our first race at Motegi and gets it done here to finish it off at Chicagoland.
I want to take and kind of combine 2 points here that were made by now the 2 former champions of the series. Kite Bommersbach came into this season as the defending champion, and now Nicholas Johnston is going to head into the upcoming season as the defending champion. Kite mentioned about the struggles he had coming into this season and was really glad to be able to finish out the year on a high note. And Nicholas mentioned about the fact, you're the champion going into a new season. There's a target on your back. So what kind of stuff do you think Johnston has looking forward to the 2020 B season?
I mean, last season, he started off with a good second podium finish and continue just trying to get those podium finishes and try to win those road courses that he used and utilized to win this championship. All those road course wins really helped that 28 get the win done. Next season, he'll be on the 1. We'll see if that 1 machine can get more wins than he did this season, because it seemed like he was winning every single road course that was out there.
Well, what a season it has been. 15 races, 8 different drivers went to victory lane, and Nicholas Johnston, as you coined it, Sam, Mr. Consistency, is going to be your champion here in the 2020 A season. But it's been a great year to cover here. A lot of really great battling. We've had some photo finishes. We've had a lot of underdog stories take place as well. Some fuel strategy races. It's been a little bit of everything here in the IndyCar series. And Sam, as always, appreciate you being in the booth here with me.
Always a pleasure.
And thanks to Fuel Racing League for allowing us to do this as well. We're looking forward to covering their upcoming season, the 2020B Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar season. That's going to be starting out from Twin Ring Motegi, and that will be on July 23rd. So I hope you guys will join us for that new season. But here tonight, Andrew Wood hoists the race win trophy. Nicholas Johnston hoists the championship trophy, as those two are going to be celebrating here this evening, and Nicholas Johnston will be celebrating for the remainder of this offseason. For Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in here tonight and for this entire season for the Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series, as you've been watching another broadcast here this evening, courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.